The judge in the Diarmuid Phelan trial in relation to murder has told the jury that they can return one of three verdicts: that it is murder, that it's manslaughter, or that Mr. Phelan is not guilty. So the judge has charged the jury with the questions that are open to them and explained the law to them. The judge said that the prosecution case is that it has established beyond reasonable doubt that Keith Bono Conlon was unlawfully shot by Mr. Phelan in February 2022, and that Mr. Phelan had the necessary intention for murder in that he intended to kill or cause serious injury. That is the definition. The prosecution case was that the intention was formed between the second and third of the three shots fired by Mr. Phelan, the judge said. The defence case, on the other hand, was that Mr. Phelan had reached no such intention. The killing was unintentional for reasons including the uneven terrain, the movement of Mr. Conlon, Keith Bono Conlon, the movement of Mr. Phelan, the alignment of the gun, and that he had raised the issue of self-defence. So the jury needs to be satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt about matters including whether Mr. Phelan had an honest belief, if it was necessary, to use force, and whether the force used was reasonable. Verdicts of manslaughter or acquittal were open to them in that situation. In other words, just to be absolutely clear, if he had a reasonable or an honest belief rather that it was necessary to use force and that the force used was reasonable, then verdicts of manslaughter or acquittal are open to the jury. The judge explained in detail the law in relation to murder, manslaughter and acquittal. The jury comprises 9 men and 3 women. The case is in its 9th week. It began in October. Mr. Phelan is a law professor and he's a senior counsel. He's a law professor at Trinity College, Dublin, and he's pleaded not guilty to the murder of Mr. Conlon in February 2022. He was pronounced brain dead at Tala Hospital 2 days after he was shot at Mr. Phelan's farm. He and 2 other men were using a lurcher dog and a Jack Russell Terrier to hunt down badgers and or foxes when trespassing on Mr. Phelan's farm that day. After Mr. Phelan, who the jury was told was concerned about lambing ewes, shot the lurcher, Mr. Coleman's dog, there were heated exchanges with the trespassers, and Mr. Conlon and Mr. Coleman followed him up a field. The prosecution case is that 2 shots were fired in the air by Mr. Phelan from his Smith & Wesson revolver, and a 3rd penetrated the body of Mr. Conlon. The prosecution say when the 3rd shot was fired, the deceased was shot in the back of the head as he turned away, and in the circumstances, Mr. Phelan had the necessary intent for murder. Prosecution said that the evidence, including from 4 foreign nationals who witnessed the shooting of Mr. Conlon, established the prosecution case beyond reasonable doubt. She said that it was clear from the evidence that before the fatal shot was fired, Mr. Conlon had turned to go. She said that there was nothing in the encounter that could have led Mr. Phelan to believe he was being presented with such a threat of force to justify producing a revolver from his pocket and to repeatedly fire that, she said. Mr. Phelan denies intent to kill or seriously injure Mr. Conlon, and he told Gardaí in interviews that he believed that if he had not reacted immediately, he would have got me, and he was terrified. Sean Gearan, senior counsel then for Mr. Phelan, said that he'd fired 3 warning shots. There was no dispute the 3rd had hit and killed Mr. Conlon, but Mr. Phelan never intended to hit him. Mr. Phelan was outnumbered and facing imminent attack, Sean Gearan, senior counsel, said. The defence case was that it was an unintended killing, which was only accidental in the sense some movement of Mr. Conlon or the gun brought a bullet into contact with Mr. Conlon. Even if the prosecution proved the 3rd shot was an aimed shot targeted at Mr. Conlon, the use of force in what is described as legitimate defence, self-defence as prescribed by law, is a defence to murder and manslaughter, he said. So the jury will now consider their verdict. Hope you find the video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button down below. Thank you very much.